This is Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
I'm the only lawyer ever to obtain a court ruling that a president of the United States committed a crime.
For truth. For competition.
As a young lawyer, I helped break up AT&T. That's why you have all your cell phones today.
For sovereignty. For the Republic.
I'm the guy who, at Judicial Watch, which I founded, uncovered the Chinagate scandal. Millions of dollars going to the Clinton campaign, corrupting our political system.
For the privacy of citizens.
And I'm the only guy to have enjoined the National Security Agency from mass surveillance on hundreds of millions of Americans.
Tearing it up.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
Bringing it back.
We're going to take this country apart and put it back together again in the way envisioned by our founding fathers.
It's not just talk.
We're not just regurgitating news stories. Larry Klayman, special prosecutor, is making the news.
And now, here's Larry.
Welcome to this week's edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. We are going to tear it up this week. As I said, and I said this many times, we just don't report the news, we make the news. And the big news this week is that Freedom Watch and I, and you can see what we did at freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org, we filed a complaint with the Office of Professional Responsibility and the Inspector General over all of the leaks of Special Counsel Robert Mueller with regard to his investigation of Trump and his associates. And we also did another thing, and that is that we forwarded this to the Attorney General of the United States, Jeff Sessions. We forwarded it to the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, and others, in addition to McGahn, that's the White House counsel, because we want everyone to be aware of what's going on. This is not being reported. Is that under Rule 6E of the Rules of Criminal Procedure, and I was a prosecutor with the Justice Department myself, when we had grand jury proceedings, we had to keep it secret, not just the testimony that was going on in front of the grand jury, but the interviewing of witnesses, everything that was going on. According to Justice Department policy and procedure, investigations are to be kept confidential. And in fact, that's how James Comey, former FBI director, has run into trouble because he released information about ongoing investigations. It has the effect of smearing people before you know whether there's an indictable offense or not. And that's what Mueller has been doing. If you read the newspaper every single day, you'll find out new things that Mueller is doing, whether it's getting into the son of Michael Flynn this week. He's really stretching it at this point, or whether it's letters inside of the White House that President Trump apparently reviewed according to the reports, which are supposed to be privileged, and all kinds of other things that are going on with regard to interviewing witnesses and strategy and where they're headed and using the IRS to investigate Trump and his associates. This is all an effort to destroy Trump. At this point, it doesn't matter whether anybody's indicted or not because they've already done a number on him politically, and that's the motivation of Robert Mueller. The bottom line is this, ladies and gentlemen, this guy is corrupt. I know this going back to 9/11 when he intimidated various clients that I had, FBI agents who were coming forward, who were trying to investigate Saudi money laundering. He threatened them with being drummed out of the FBI for just simply talking about what hadn't been done, which led to 9/11. We also know that our client, Dennis Montgomery, that brave whistleblower, who's got a brain aneurysm, that's bad enough, but he came forward with 47 hard drives, 600 million plus pages of information showing illegal surveillance by the FBI, the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Intelligence Agency, and others. And this was buried by James Comey. But the fact is that Mueller was doing the same illegal surveillance without probable cause, without warrants. Rather than looking in on possible terrorist connections that people were having, the entire American populace was under surveillance whenever it suited them. And this is the guy that you're dealing with. He is corrupt to the core. He's a Washington establishment hack. And the sad part is not just the Attorney General is afraid to take him on, because Attorney General Sessions himself is under criminal investigation for allegedly lying to Congress and having connections with Russian diplomats. I think all of this is trumped up, but nevertheless, and that's not just a pun, but nevertheless, it's caused the Attorney General to put his head in the sand, to become less brave than an ostrich, if you can believe that, and to basically look the other way to all of these abuses. And of course, Mueller, he was appointed under the authority of the Department of Justice as a special counsel. Rod Rosenstein, number 2, another big mistake of Sessions, having made him number 2. This guy's a Democrat. He's a closet leftist, and he was former U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland under Obama. So that's why he put Mueller in there, because this is a way to try to destroy the president and to protect his own skin, because he was accused of playing a role in firing Comey. These people, they try to play both sides of the street. That's how they get their job. You have to sliver through Washington, not offend anybody, become basically an establishment hack, and simply go merrily along hoping that you'll get appointments and those kinds of things. I mean, that's what killed Ken Starr. He never went hard enough because he wanted to be Supreme Court justice. If he offended too many people, he wouldn't become that. Well, he became that anyway because the Clintons really did a number on him. But very few people in Washington, I don't know of any, and I'm going to toot my own horn here to a certain extent. I think I'm the only one who will stick his neck out regardless of what comes of it, whether it's offending judges or doing what needs to be done. This country is going down the drain. And that's why Mueller is so, frankly, evil. That's what he is. He's evil. And he hired 16 counting prosecutors, many of whom gave money to the Clinton campaign, many of whom voted for President Clinton and Barack Obama. These people are out to do a hit on the President of the United States. So that's why we filed this complaint. And if Office of Professional Responsibility, this is the ethics arm inside of the Justice Department that's supposed to be independent. Of course, we know in Washington few things are independent. In fact, I don't know of anything that is. The Inspector General is supposed to do an investigation that's neutral and to see why these leaks are occurring, why Mueller appointed these conflicted lawyers who have loyalty to Clinton and Obama. This was a conflict of interest, and it's a serious conflict of interest. And now we learned today that Robert Mueller himself gave legal advice to a company that was owned or was working with General Michael Flynn. That's a clear-cut conflict of interest. And he continues on trying to prosecute Flynn. Flynn is in serious trouble. I don't know that he's done anything wrong, but he's the hit. These are the people that they usually get at the end of the day. These are the people who wind up getting indicted. I doubt that President Trump will ever be indicted. They're just going to render him inoperative with all of this stuff that's going on. They already have to some extent. He's being courageous and he's pushing back. He's trying not to think about it, but you can't help but think about it because they're out to destroy him. Not just Mueller, not just the Democrats, but the Republican establishment, people like Paul Ryan, people like Senator John McCain. They undercut the president at every turn. That's why he's reaching out to Democrats right now. He's basically giving them the middle finger, saying is, you guys didn't want to participate in what I want to do, what I was elected to do, so I'm going to go to the Democrats. And you can't blame him for that, but he's got to be careful when he deals with people like Schumer and Pelosi. These people are dishonest. They're snakes. And that's what you're dealing with. So we took action here. And if the Office of Professional Responsibility does not follow through on our complaint to investigate Mueller, to have him ultimately removed, to have him prosecuted himself for violating the rules of criminal procedure, Rule 6E and all the related rules, then we will go to a court and ask for a petition for writ of mandamus to have the court order them to do their job. But more important than that, because the court we would have to go to is the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit. That court, just like the lower court, is infested, and that's the right word, with Obama and Clinton appointed judges. They are political. They rarely, if ever, do anything in a nonpartisan way. There's maybe one or two Republicans on there, but they're establishment Republicans who are also scared of their shadow and believe that government still works. They're the product of government. They wouldn't have gotten their job if they hadn't scratched the backs of all interests, because they could be stopped in confirmation, blocked if they offend the opposition party too much. So it's really for the American people to rise up. And I urge you to look at our website at freedomwatchusa.org. freedomwatchusa.org. Contribute to our cause. We need to ramp up. We need to hire more people. And we need to push. We are your Justice Department. You don't have a Justice Department. It simply does not exist in today's world. It didn't exist 20-some years ago when I started Judicial Watch. That was about 23 years ago, on July 29th, 1994. Now I run Freedom Watch. Freedom Watch does what Judicial Watch used to do. Judicial Watch gets documents. It goes on TV. It pounds its chest about how many documents they've got. But from that point, they do little to nothing. We're in the courts trying to get stuff done. And I'm thankful that some documents have come out, very little, because these Clinton and Obama judges try to cover everything up and slow roll everything. But we're in court and we need your help. And I want you to go to the website because I'm going to have information there on how you can contact the Office of Professional Responsibility, the Inspector General of the Justice Department, demand as a member of the public, a taxpayer member of the public, that a true investigation be conducted. And we believe in peaceful revolution. But I'll tell you something, there are some people out there who don't, and I don't advocate it. But if this continues on, we're going to have a serious violent revolution because we don't have a government that represents us. And we're already seeing what's happening in Berkeley and other places. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. But this is super, super important. And I don't mean to hawk our website too much. This is not just promotion, but we need your help. You need to join our peaceful Gideon's army. And we really want to be able to do things that other people won't do. And we need your help to do it. So I want you to go to freedomwatchusa.org, freedomwatchusa.org, and see what it is we're doing. Now, when we come back, we're going to be talking about what happened in Berkeley. We're going to be talking about North Korea that just fired another missile over Japan. We're going to be talking about Ben Shapiro, who talked out in Berkeley, as I said, and what's happening with Sheriff Arpaio and the judge out there in Arizona, another one of these Clinton appointees, frankly, who did a hit on, frankly, a brave hero who was my client and my friend. So we'll be right back.
The left-wing media is an existential threat to America. Whether it's the fake news network that says, this is CNN, or the left's corrupt establishment networks like ABC, NBC, and CBS, the left-leaning media has become increasingly more dishonest. This corruption of the mainstream media reached a fever pitch during last year's election and has continued this year with their coverage of the new administration. At Freedom Watch, we started the Leftist Media Strike Force to combat the left's hold on the media. We monitor, report, and take action against the inaccuracies, slander, and threats that the media generates against conservatives and conservative policies. Go to leftistmediastrikeforce.org to join the fight and donate to help us battle the fake news media. The modern mainstream media has become nothing more than a protection racket for the establishment politicians and corporations that are running our country into the ground. And we need your help. That's leftistmediastrikeforce.org.
Dangerous.
You don't hear, use the court and the law.
Lethal.
This is bad.
Special prosecutor.
Very bad.
Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
I want to talk now about what went on at Berkeley this week with Ben Shapiro. He's, of course, a conservative commentator. Actually, the irony is Ben wanted to speak out there, but he's not all that conservative in many respects. I mean, he sets forth that he is, but he's been very anti-Trump. He's got an animus towards Steve Bannon, who he worked with at Breitbart News. He doesn't like Trump, and I think that influences what he does. He did everything he could to keep Trump from being elected. So the irony is that when Ben Shapiro goes to University of California at Berkeley, which is bluntly a communist institution, you know, back in my days of the Vietnam War, you had Angela Davis and Herbert Marcuse, who was a professor there. They were professing communist thought. They created a lot of uproar with regard to the Vietnam War. But Ben goes out there and he wants to speak, and of course he gets threatened. And I think I have respect for Ben and that he should be able to speak. He did write a book. The Ghost wrote a book about Judicial Watch, which wrote me out of it because he did it on behalf of Tom Fitton. First 47 pages, as if I had never started Judicial Watch or done anything there. So I have a problem with Ben, but he should be able to speak, and he should be able to say what he wants to say. But instead, the president of the university made various negative remarks about him, whipped up this hatred and violence potentially against him. And because of public outcry and also because of a lawsuit that we brought against Antifa, that's that radical leftist group funded by George Soros, anarchists, people that go out there and kill and maim. They want to kill, at least. I don't know if they've killed anybody yet, but they're working up to that. These are Bolsheviks. These are people that want to destroy the country, build it back in the image of what happened in the Soviet Union in the revolution of 1917. So we brought a lawsuit against them on behalf of Chiara Robles, a very fine young lady who was attacked when another Breitbart reporter, Milo Yiannopoulos, went out there to speak months ago. So I think it had an impact. And Berkeley eventually decided they were going to spend some money, have their police force do something, and go out there and try to protect Shapiro and protect the First Amendment rights to free speech. A few days ago, Ben Shapiro spoke out there, and there were 5 arrested, but it could have been a lot worse. And of course, in California, you can't really carry here for self-defense. So the people that went there were under severe risk. And thank God Berkeley did its job this time. But it was very disheartening to hear the president of the university diss conservatives and diss Ben Shapiro. And I got to tell you something. If I had a kid, the University of California at Berkeley would be the last place I would ever send that kid. In fact, there's a rule of protocol in the University of California system that says you can't even say that the United States is a land of opportunity if you're a professor, because people are going to feel bad about it. People are going to feel like they're losers. Well, you know what? There are really a lot of fine young people today. I was heartened when I went to a conservative conference recently, but there aren't that many. And these young people spend most of their time texting, most of their time, not everybody, but some people looking at pornography. And when they go to a school like Berkeley or any California state school, and I might say my own school, Duke University, is not much better, my undergraduate school, or Emory, the law school, they've all become very leftist. They've become very anti trying to move this country forward, trying to make it great again. They want to destroy this country. They think this country's going down the drain with Trump. And frankly, they just want to protest and they want to carry on. And that's why this lawsuit that we brought is so important. We sued not just Antifa, but we sued the University of California at Berkeley, and we sued the police department that up to a few days ago, when Ben Shapiro spoke, just watched as people got beaten up and harmed by Antifa and other leftists. Apparently, Ben Shapiro goes out there and he makes a statement. He's pandering to the media. A very small, this is what he says, a very small select group of absolutely terrible people who believe absolutely terrible things are white supremacists. Well, you know what? They're worse than that, number one, and they should be condemned. But he should also be condemning Antifa. He should also be condemning Black Lives Matter. He should also be condemning people who are out there like Louis Farrakhan, Al Sharpton, and others who are trying to create racial division in this country. So even Ben Shapiro was forced into being politically correct out there. And, he's not a be-all or an end-all. He's a young guy. He's coming up. I hope he does succeed. I hope he changes his ways. I hope he gets less hateful towards President Trump, because that's what he is. He was on a L.A. radio station before then. I don't know why he's no longer on it. But we need to pull together. Whether you like Trump or not, or whether you're mad at Steve Bannon at Breitbart or whatever, Trump is our last chance to succeed. There isn't very much more left. And we're going to talk about some other things when we come back with regard to Hillary Clinton, who's also been trying to destroy President Trump. She's back. The wicked witch of the left is back.
And now, 4 words that make corrupt politicians make wee-wee in their little pants.
Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
Be the one who makes our country great again. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and donate.
I have on the phone right now a good friend of mine, excellent friend, Morgan Brittany, who was the star of Dallas, many other things, very accomplished actress. She's a Christian conservative. She believes in moral values, and she's been very, very active in being a commentator on what's been going on. And I really welcome Morgan to the show because it's a great privilege to have her. And I might add, during the time that I ran for the U.S. Senate in Florida back in 2003, 2004, she was always there to help me, and I'm really appreciative of that. Morgan, tell us what you think about what's been going on with Hillary Clinton, her loss. She's coming out. She's written this book, What Happened. I was joking. I wrote a column a few weeks ago where I made reference to the fact that I used to have a bumper sticker in my office at Judicial Watch in the kitchen, which said, Clinton happens. And it seems like she's back. She's back. as what I have called the wicked witch of the left. You don't have to characterize her that way, but that's me. But what is the impression? I want to get your impression as a woman as to how, her sour grapes is selling right now, and, what's happened with regard to her campaign and her obvious attempt to try to reinvigorate herself so she can run for the presidency again, because I'm sure that's her goal.
This woman just will not go away. It's absolutely unbelievable. She cannot accept the fact that she lost the election, that she's not likable, that she's basically a criminal in my mind. I mean, all of this stuff that's coming out now, even more about the emails and pay per play and all this kind of stuff. It's absolutely insane. And the more women that I talk to around this country, Anne-Marie Morel and I have a website called PolitiChicks, and we go around the country and we speak with groups, talk to women's groups all the time. And the basic impression of Hillary Clinton is she's embarrassing to women. She's a whiner. She's a complainer. She cannot accept the fact that she lost she can't be gracious about anything. And there's this sour grapes and everybody else's fault. She never takes any responsibility for anything that she did. It's, there's 1,000 things on her list as to why she lost this election. But she never looks within. She never looks at herself and says, maybe it's me. And it's very embarrassing to women because they just shake their head and go, this is who almost became the leader of the free world as a representative of American women? Boy, did we dodge a bullet.
Yeah, I look at her, just her way she holds herself, because I pay attention to that as someone who's in court a lot, and doing public events and that kind of thing, speaking. And she's never learned, in my view, how to hold herself in a way that connects. Her hand movements are very rigid. It's almost like a dictator, the way she talks and the way she moves. And people turned off. I have friends out in Los Angeles who are basically the left, even, you do too, who couldn't stand her, and they're now Trump supporters. It's unreal that she's alienated even the left with her approach, and they wish that she would go away, but she's still there. Now, one of the things that came out this week is more information about Benghazi. Apparently, there was a security company that was bidding on protecting the embassy, and they were turned away, and an incompetent security agency, not that we should have had any security agencies, private, it should have been the U.S. government. We pay taxes to protect our ambassador and his staff. Why are you funneling it out? Why don't we have the resources to do that? But yet another blot on Benghazi. And of course, as you may know, I represent Pat Smith, the mother of Sean Smith, and I represent Charles Woods, the father of Ty Woods, who were working with the ambassador. Hillary Clinton was using a private email server. It was hacked, even by Comey's own admission, at least 5 times by foreign powers. It likely gave up the coordinates of the embassy, of the consulate in Benghazi, and of course, Ambassador Christopher Stevens, which then led al-Qaeda to be able to kill them all. So we have a lawsuit for wrongful death against Hillary Clinton. It's going through the courts, and also for defaming our clients, calling them liars. That she had told them, that it was just someone going for a walk that was mad about a video of the Prophet Muhammad. So, I wanted to get your thoughts on that too, this whole Benghazi situation, because, as we go into more wars, it looks like we're going to be going into one with North Korea at some point, probably Iran. We still are messing around in Afghanistan. I'm not sure that's a good idea. I hope President Trump thinks that through a little more. But what are your thoughts about this? This is someone, as you said, who's a criminal.
Oh, yeah. The more time goes on and the more information that's found out about all of this, and we all knew from the very beginning that anybody who had a private server and went to the trouble of literally erasing it with bleach bit and having, there was stuff on that server and in those emails that absolutely was about Benghazi. Maybe it went as high up as Barack Obama. I wouldn't be surprised. But all of that stuff had to be destroyed. And it just baffles me that none of this is sticking. She is not in jail. This woman should be prosecuted for what she did, and she should be in jail. But yet the arrogance of her is just unbelievable, that she thinks because she is a Clinton, she can get away with anything. And it is so dangerous and very frightening. I mean, if I was a Democrat, I would want her to absolutely exit the stage.
Ideologically, you go from bad to worse. Hillary, of course, doesn't really have any ideology. It depends how much money she's paid by any particular interest at the time.
Right,
right. It was funny because I was talking to a friend of mine during the campaign, and he was actually saying, I said, who are you going to vote for? Because he's Jewish and he has an interest in Israel, for instance. And he was joking with me. He says, maybe I'll vote for Hillary because I know there'll be so much Jewish money from the left that she'll do what we want her to do. He was a leftist. Right, you just have to bribe her. And, she's like the Energizer Bunny. Give me the money and I'll go do what I have to do so I can get more money. And it's interesting, I have a many multi-year Freedom of Information Act request at the Clinton Library, and they've never produced one document. I wanted to see what they had about me. But I'll tell you something else about Washington, Morgan, and you've seen it from afar. I've seen it from up close. I've been fighting Clinton's lawyers for years. David Kendall of Williams and Conley. David Kendall is a protected species in Washington, D.C. It's the establishment, and even the Republican establishment will protect these people like Paul Ryan, people like Lindsey Graham, people like John McCain, because everybody goes to lunch, they go to dinner, they rub shoulders, they go to Georgetown soirees. There's an unwritten rule that you don't touch the powers to be in Washington. You burn the middle to lower level people. Now, David Kendall participated in the destruction of this evidence. He's a lawyer. And Williams and Conley did as well. They also hid stuff, and they also looked at classified information. They did not have a security clearance to do that. They would be prosecuted if it wasn't David Kendall, if it wasn't Williams and Conley. Just happens to be the law firm of the Clintons and also the law firm of the Washington Post, not coincidentally. Well, I have a friend, Morgan, Ty Clavenger, who filed an ethics complaint in the District of Columbia Bar. Of course, the lawyers there who have contributed heavily to Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, who have voted for them, and you can go look on the FAC websites, they dismiss the complaint. They don't even take it up. But Ty Clavenger, who I've worked with in the past, an individual who is a former Justice Department lawyer, it's a long story, I'll talk about it on another show. We had a case in Memphis where a woman had married a terrorist and threatened the children. It's a long story. But the terrorist did, not the woman. He filed a complaint in Maryland as well because Kendall's a member of the Maryland Bar as well as the D.C. Bar. The Maryland Bar, which is as leftist as the D.C. Bar, dismissed it, and he went to court, and he got a Republican judge, and the Republican judge ordered an investigation of Kendall. Now, whether the Maryland Bar does it or not, I hope the judge kept jurisdiction so he can do status reports as to what's going on. But these people are above the law, and Hillary knows that. And she knows that she's a protected species. And, 80 people died during the administration. Is that just law of average? 80 witnesses that came forward to testify potentially against the Clintons in the 1990s. So, you've looked at these things, and I'm telling you, this is what you're up against in Washington. It's not just the Democrats and Hillary. It's the establishment Republicans. And do you have any thoughts about, what Paul Ryan's been doing up there and Mitch McConnell?
I'll tell you something, Larry. It is just unbelievable. And they are so panicked about Donald Trump winning this election because this blindsided them so badly. When Hillary lost, they thought there was no way she could ever lose. There's no way. It's the slam dunk. She's going to win. And he pulled this thing off. They underestimated the American people. Well, right now, I'm telling you, on both sides of the aisle, the Democrats and the Republican establishment, the old guard, they are out to get him. And they will do whatever they can to destroy this man, because if he succeeds, they're done. And they know they're done, because he went in there with drain the swamp, get rid of all this. And I don't know about you, but I'm really disappointed in Jeff Sessions, because I thought he was going to stand up and really go after these people. And it looks to me like he's backing down. I mean, I don't understand what's going on here. Is he part of all that group? Because they seem to be the old boys club that gets together and just pats each other on the back and says, don't worry, I've got your back. I mean, I'm really disgusted with what's going on, and I know the American people are disgusted with this. But thank goodness for, what you do, and you get this information out there, and you always have. And it's unbelievable, because without people like you, the American people would not know anything. But you know what? You need people who will dig into this and expose these people for who they are. They come out and they tell us and give us lip service about all this stuff they're going to do. I'm telling you, Donald Trump, he's just got to watch everything. He does, because they're out to get him.
Well, you're right. And in addition to getting documents, we, of course, bring hard-hitting lawsuits. So thanks for those kind words, Morgan. But the bottom line with Sessions, and I've written a lot about this, is that Sessions is under criminal investigation unfairly in the Russian collusion matter. And he also is being investigated by Congress for allegedly lying about his meetings with Russian ambassadors. And on top of that, everybody's called him a racist on the left. So he's very defensive about that. He's buried his head in the sand, and he's protecting his own backside rather than the American people. And frankly, I think he should resign. I think, right now he's got so much conflict, he can't do his job as the Attorney General.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that it would be better for everybody if he did, because this is what the left is doing. You and I both know that there is nothing to this Russian investigation. Nothing. It's like, look at the shiny object over here and don't pay attention to all of this. The Democrats have nothing. They don't have anything to run on. They don't have any candidates. Their poster child is somebody like Maxine Waters and Elizabeth Warren. This is who they hold up as the heads of, the people to admire in the Democrat Party. They have nothing. So all they have to do is just to smear whoever they can in the Trump administration. They go after statues that they don't like. Antifa is out there causing chaos. I mean, this is a party that is falling apart. And they're disintegrating right before our eyes. But unfortunately, they're disintegrating into a more progressive left. And it really is, it's bothering me to such an extent, and I don't know what to do about it. But I look at people like Sessions and I think, you know what? If you're not going to fight and you're going to look after your own self and not the American people, then get out of the way. Because
that's a good way to end it, Morgan.
Fighters.
We're out of time, but I want to bring you back, and you're great. And I hope that we can follow up with this in the next show, because you raised some important issues. Thanks, Morgan.
Thank you.
Before he was a trial lawyer, he sliced him and diced him.
People used to ask me, Larry, what caused you to start Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch, given the powerful forces in this country that put you at risk?
In a meat packing plant.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
A very special prosecutor, Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
This has been a great show, but I want to end it with a thought here. I said this before, and you can read it on our website, my columns. I'm putting together a 4-volume work of all the columns I've written over the years, during the Clinton years, the Bush years, the Obama years, and now the Trump years. There's somewhere between 400 and 500 columns that I've written. And if you look at those columns, you'll see that it shows the evolution in this country, how low we have sunk, what difficult conditions we now find ourselves in, and what a crisis looms on the horizon with North Korea, with Iran. North Korea just shot another missile over Japan. That's an act of war. And the Japanese certainly know how to deal with it, but after their experience in World War II and are handcuffing them up to the present time, it really rests upon us to do something with regard to the threat, not just to Southeast Asia, but to the United States. North Korea now has nuclear-tipped missiles that can reach virtually every part of the United States. They don't have to be that accurate. One atomic bomb would affect the entire country if it hit, just with the radiation. Wouldn't have to destroy your city, but you'd be radiated and either killed by that or get cancer. So I'm not trying to scare people unnecessarily, but, you know, we spend our time on Russian investigations. We spend our time on all this nonsense, and we did it, frankly, during the Clinton years, too. You know, I did some commentary. I was trying to protect the women who Morgan, you know, has talked about in the past that were threatened by Hillary Clinton, threatened, frankly, with being killed, some of them. Dolly Kyle Browning, who was Clinton's girlfriend for 23 years, was threatened with death by people inside the Clinton administration. But that was not the real scandal. I mean, it was taking money from China. It was bribery. It was selling out national security. That's what the Clintons are best at, because you can get more money doing that for their foundation or for speaking fees or just directly into their coffers from the Bank of China, which also happened. But you've got a situation here where we took the eye off the ball during the Clinton years with Monica Lewinsky. And as that was happening, and this is an expression I've used, you've heard me say it, as Bill Clinton was having oral sex in the Oval Office, perhaps we should call it the Oral Office, Osama bin Laden was about ready to screw us. And excuse the vulgarity, excuse the French, but I'm making a point. You know, I'm a frustrated comedian to some extent, but this isn't even funny. But we're doing the same thing now. And we're starting to have a conflict where we're whipping things up against Russia, against Putin. Yeah, he's a bad guy, but enemies of my enemies can be my friend in terms of pursuing certain objectives. And Putin doesn't have an interest in the Muslim world. The Chechens are trying to destroy Russia. He's trying to eliminate ISIS to some extent, and we should be able to cooperate with him. And Trump's communications with the Russians, even before he was sworn in, are not illegal. In fact, the show Homeland, which depicts a female president-elect and depicts her doing business, or at least trying to do something diplomatically with the Iranians. This is the leftist Hollywood that Morgan just talked about. And they're creating all these issues at the same time that we're under a nuclear threat. And that really is what's frightening today. And what makes it even worse, and go to our website at freedomwatchusa.org. By the way, see this book that we can pre-order, and read the preamble that I wrote, because the judges are supposed to be the ones that protect us. And they don't protect us anymore. They are very partisan. Most of them, 90% of them, are President Clinton or President Obama appointees. They wear their politics on their sleeve. It's gotten to the point that if I file a lawsuit and it's assigned to an Obama or a Clinton-appointed judge, I'll just dismiss it out. Why waste money? Why waste time? If it's of a political nature, I don't do politics, but if it touches on things that are going on in the political system or the government system, forget it. This is the real tragedy today, and it's why you, the American people, need to rise up. I do my best. Sometimes we get really good judges, like Judge Royce Lamberth in D.C. or Judge Leon, who enjoined Obama and his intelligence agencies from illegal surveillance. But the real answer lies with you. It lies with a Gideon's army of strong-willed people who believe in ethics, morality, and religion. As John Adams said, without ethics, morality, and religion, we will not have a lasting liberty. And as another great founding father and third American president said, when the people fear the government, there's tyranny. When the government fears the people, there's liberty. And that's what we need to do in a peaceful way. They need to fear us, because without that, we're not going to have a nation much longer. So I want to thank you for listening in today. Go to our website, freedomwatchusa.org. Order a pre-ordered version of my book, Essays of a Madman. I'm mad, but I'm not crazy. We'll be back to you next week. God bless you all.